ever since I was about 13, I've pretty much been obsessed with writing songs, recording stuff, and being in a band.
We've been making music since we were 5 years old. We've been singing on stage and we've been loving it. So, I mean, to be doing it that long, it's got to be, for 15 years before we even became the Veronicas. So it's like, for us to be doing it that long, we're not doing it just to be famous.
You put so much in that sometimes it can be the reason for a fight or an argument or something, because you actually really shut up, Bobby.
It's the most enjoyable thing you can ever do, doing what you love and you create, and then presenting it towards an audience is magic.
Our job is to go out and make people think that every night's Saturday night, and that's the best job in the world.
I don't think people, just because you sign to a major label, means you're going to live like a rock star.
You can't just get one song on the radio and go buy a fat house.
It's not all rock and roll, like trashing hotel rooms and things like that. I mean, it actually, you try it and it'll cost you a lot of money.
I guess from the outside it might look like, but you get to go to all these parties, you get to do this, you get to do that.
And which is fun.
Which is great, but all of these parties you actually have to go and do media. You have to go and do interviews. You're not really able to drink unless you want to look like a trash bag in all your interviews.
Everything that you thought it would be, man, you have crazier parties just as a teenager.
I don't think we live a rock star life at all, we're still paying the rent just like everybody else.
There's so much to do when you're getting your debut out there, I guess, or any album.
It is quite a lengthy process, I suppose, writing and recording and all the pre and post and all the stuff you've got to do. It was almost a process of probably like a year to actually get the record together, and once it's out.
Getting from the start to the end it can be quite an ordeal, and then people might say, I hate that song, it's crap. And you go, shit, that piece of crap took a long time to make.
Being a musician is 100% 24/7 full-time job.
It's not regular income necessarily. It's not a 9-to-5 wage where you're guaranteed at the end of the week you're going to have this much money in your pocket. But at the same time, it is something that takes up a lot of time if you want to do it properly. And it's worth every minute that you spend dedicated to it.
I feel that we're sort of doing music so much, like 24 hours a day, like even if I talk for the next 14 hours, I wouldn't be able to explain everything that we do and everything that goes into our band and our day and our lives and everything.
Because there is a decline in record sales, and that's an obvious thing. I think people talk about percentages and so forth, that a lot of bands are looking for other avenues to sort of capitalise on what they've lost, to try to gain it back.
These days things are so accessible and so disposable as well, so I think it's people out there have a different mindset, not just in music, about a lot of things, that they can pick something up, not necessarily read what's gone into it and just discard it.
And the way to put your band out there in general changes weekly. 1 minute it's MySpace, the next minute it's Facebook, and everyone forgets about MySpace, so things are kind of like jumping along way too quickly.
Bands, labels, everybody, promoters, they just know that the music industry, the money in the industry is sort of dwindling away a little bit. That's why everybody's looking at new ways to sort of generate income in the industry, so the internet's becoming a lot more important. Merchandise, branding, all that sort of stuff is really important.
Even selling albums, you don't get the money straight away, and even if you do get some money, sometimes it's not a lot, because out of those sales, you have to recoup all those album costs.
When you're starting off, you have the record label paying for everything, and when you start to get income, you have to pay them back first before you start getting money.
These days, the business side of music is just as important as the music, which is a little bit unfortunate.
For generating income these days, you got to be really creative. The internet's made it good and bad.
It used to be really uncool to be part of like a mobile phone company, but those kind of things these days you've got to kind of consider seriously.
For younger bands, it's a really good avenue for promoting yourself.
We sort of got out there because we put our music on MySpace and Faster Louder and all these different music websites. Just technology is amazing how it can spread the word.
It is another avenue to get your music out there, especially around the world. Yeah, I mean, anyone from anywhere can log on and learn about you. You don't necessarily have to be on an Australian TV show, you know what I mean? It's like anyone around the world, so it is a great thing. The problem with downloading, obviously, is that it's ruining our industry in a way. Because, I mean, you know, artists just aren't making money, record companies aren't making money from it.
I do think that artists deserve the money for the songs that they write and that they perform, but at the same time, it's such a hard issue because your music is getting out there and getting played to people, and essentially what do you want? Do you do it for money, or do you do it for music and getting your music out to as many people as possible? And there's definitely a lot of controversy over that issue.
You can't keep making records if you're not making money. Like, you're trying to feed yourself at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? And it's a job, and you've got to live off it. I'd love to just do it for the love, but at the end of the day, you get older, and it's like you've got to make ends meet.
There becomes a point where you've got to make X amount to be able to continue, you know. So unless you want to be old mate that lives in Byron Bay and sits in his hinterland shack and just plays an acoustic guitar.
The internet has been a godsend and a nightmare for the music industry.
There's kids out there who've never bought a CD and never known anything but downloading. How to educate those people to start doing the right thing and have them understand that if they don't support the artist doesn't exist anymore. That's quite difficult.
I'm not going to deny it. I have downloaded music in the past, and it's only when you actually start being in a band you actually realise how sort of damaging that can be.
I'm not going to lie and say that record sales don't mean anything. They do still hold a lot of weight within the industry. If you're selling big amounts of records, you're charting. If you're charting, radio will play you. If radio's playing you, you're selling more records. It's a big circle, right?
It's a big cycle, you know. If people, if they're not necessarily getting it through sort of your regular means, like a record store, or, you know, that affects the charts. It affects, you know, the confidence that a record company might have in us. So there are a lot of different things that affect different sort of aspects of our life in the music industry.
I'm not too sure where it's going to be in 10 years, but hopefully it'll grow.
The whole industry is just changed, and it's really hard, I think, probably for most artists to kind of find where they sit and find a comfortable position at the moment.
It's hard to say, really, what the music industry is going to be like in 10 years.
The next 10 years is going to be very interesting. I mean, I think we're in the middle of a music revolution just because of technology.
The new media is going to be the biggest challenge with everyone, like trying to figure out how to sell records or how to get people to hear stuff. Well, you know, with labels still trying to keep their heads above water.
The rate that technology is developing at with iPods and everything like that, and the internet, it's just kind of hard to tell where it's going to go. You know, wherever it goes, we're going to just try and continue to make music that we love and hopefully our fans love. And you just kind of have to be very aware of the industry and the way it changes so that you can continue to be as successful as you'd like to be in current.
Yeah. Hopefully it will change for the better, and we'll have a lot more support for Australian music, Australian writers and Australian singers and performers. I'm just going to hope for that.